to His Excellency, the Chief Executive Officer of the Islamic Republic of Afghanistan, Dr. Abdullah.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Mr. Vice President, Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to express my appreciation to the President of the United States, His Excellency Barack Obama, for hosting this critically important and timely summit on dealing with the violent extremism in groups such as ISIL. As President Ghani reminded me before I left for New York, quote, our century has been terror rip apart our most fundamental beliefs about equality, tolerance, law and progress, unquote. The emergence of new and more violent forms of extremism in various parts of the world pose a direct threat to nations, communities, cultures, and human dignity. Our challenge is to act in a proactive manner if we are to avoid widespread suffering, cultural and identity clashes, and large-scale human displacement. My country is one of a handful of nations that has undergone a series of such calamities during my generation. However, the suffering continues. The latest news from Afghanistan points to new attacks that have taken the lives of many civilians, but also to split within the ranks of the Taliban, where some want to pursue a peaceful outcome, which we welcome, and others who want to impose their will through force into the newer phenomena of Daesh, ISIL, attempting to recruit adherents and raise the black flag in an opportunistic yet violent manner. From my country all the way to Thailand in the east, in North Africa, in the west, we see atrocities committed on the daily basis. And we see various shades of extremism impose themselves on innocent, helpless communities. The unprecedented movement of new waves of refugees across parts of Asia, the Middle East, and Europe is a testament to this unfolding catastrophe. President Ghani and I believe terrorist organizations are evolving. They are increasingly replacing the traditional terrorist groups with more sophisticated forms of organizations that include political structure, administrative units, social media propaganda, and new forms of technology-based coordination, in addition to access to funding and recruits. Moreover, the use of indiscriminate violence and extremism as a foreign policy, religious, or ideological instrument have taken on ominous forms over the last century in the different parts of the world. But when they are mixed with the perverted connotation or misguided reading of scriptures, not only do they undermine the nation-state's legitimate governance, but they also target basic human rights and cultural values, including true intended meaning of scripture or ideology. Unfortunately, this mindset has led to the globalization of terror. In some parts of the world, it is limited to smaller communities, while in others, it covers wider regions and even transcend borders. The last 14 years is a proof that if a country or a society is not externally contaminated by unwelcomed ideas and hateful practices, it will have the opportunity to focus on normal development in human security. Look at areas in Afghanistan where we experience criminality, drugs, intimidation, imposition, and oppression, versus areas where there is a certain degree of legitimate governance, rule of law, constitutional rights, and development. The difference is stark and telling. In our case, extremists who are schooled and trained outside our borders intermingle with our people falsely pretending to be nationalists, either become extremist militants or engage in terrorist activities. There is no justification, religious or otherwise, for the loss of life that occurs as a result. The Afghan example has many lessons and recommendations embedded in the fabric of its history. The strategic goal to combat extremism needs to be long-term, comprehensive, and multilateral in nature. Rehabilitation of failed states should not be overlooked in a timely and effective fashion in the same manner that we need to offer safety and rehabilitation net for those who deny violence and want to adopt a more moderate stance. We must deal with the poverty, marginalization, and economic inequality that provides the enabling condition for recruitment. Education is critical, but so is the need to reform religious studies curriculum where necessary. The use of violent non-state actors as instruments of state policy must come to an end. By the same token, denying sanctuaries, recruitment, training capabilities, and support system to terrorism groups are vital. Measures need to be taken to sanction state and non-state actors who are involved in theater of extremist activities. All measures need to be taken to avoid generalization tied to xenophobic, racist, or civilizational, provocational, and sentiments. And finally, Afghanistan reiterates its support to the United Nations Security Council Resolution 2078 to address the global phenomena of foreign terrorist fighters. We also call on all nations to work through partnership using a more refined CVE toolkit as we develop inclusive national CVE strategies to degrade the lure of violence and extremism. Mr. Vice President, ladies and gentlemen, as you well know, Afghanistan, its people, government, and valiant security forces stand in the front line in the struggle against violence and extremism. As both an ongoing victim and a stakeholder, Afghanistan is ready and willing to play a constructive and supportive role alongside other like-minded states. From the CVE summit at the White House earlier this year to our gathering at the United Nations today, we are called upon to serve, protect, and defend our respective countries, but as an experience of the past few decades has proven to us, our nation and future generation expect us to deliver and to take the right action to build a better and safer world. There is a collective challenge of our time. That is a collective challenge of our time. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Abdullah. Thank you.
Merci.